And that little 15-minute call to your home just once a month is insane. Y'all. The SWAT thing, I don't even have to say it. How disgusting. Like, yeah, she's a devil's kid. Like, that's what happens to him if you don't listen to God. And I'm just... Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Graham Cracker J, and I do reactions, vlogs, miscellaneous things on this channel. So if you are interested in any of that, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how a family dropped off their 15-year-old daughter to a cult house in Colorado. This video is really sad, and honestly, throughout the video, she does express that there are some dysfunctional things about her family, and she might have not been the most well-behaved daughter, but still, there's no reason to drop your kid off at a freaking cult house, okay? It's not. Like, I understand, like, the military and everything, like, getting them into shape, but, like, really, if you think about it, your parenting is the reason why your kid is acting the way they act. You have to do certain approaches depending on the type of child you have. Not everything's going to work for a specific child, right? So let's go ahead and get into these videos. Also, remember, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below. And if you have any videos you want me to react to, please leave them in the comments down below.
When I was 15 years old, my parents sent me to a cult in Colorado, and this is how it went. So they woke me up one Tuesday morning. They were like, you need to get ready. You need to pack your things. We're going on a family vacation. Me and my parents didn't even eat dinner together. Like, we never spent time together. So a family vacation was a little bit sus. I was like, okay, you didn't tell me this. I'm late to school. What about homework? What about schoolwork? And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. We already sorted that out with your teachers. Another really weird thing is that my grandma showed up. She lives in Texas, we live in Utah, so my grandma just randomly showing up out of nowhere, super duper weird. My grandma gave me a huge hug, everything seemed really off, really weird, but then we got in the car and we started heading to Colorado. My parents said that we were going to be going to Pikes Peak. Little did I know they were dropping me off at a cult. We got there like super duper late, so we stayed in a hotel that night. Me and my parents got into some heated arguments, some stuff broke out, but the next morning, my dad sits down on the edge of the bed, looks at me and says, Caitlin, so the real reason we brought you here is because there's this super great family that you're going to be staying with. And that's when my 1 year of absolute horror began. So we get in the car, and we drive a little bit, and then we show up at this house. It's in a normal looking neighborhood, just like a normal house. We get out of the car and we go inside, and I immediately feel sick to my stomach. I look around and there's like, I don't know, 10 or 11 different girls sitting at these plastic tables doing what looks like schoolwork. They're all wearing uniforms, collared shirts, and skirts down to their ankles. So these random people take my parents up to their office upstairs, and then they sit me down on a computer to start doing like diagnostic testing for my schoolwork. Like an hour passes by, and then my parents come back down, and then I go with them to start to like go shopping for clothes and whatnot. I had to get like cotton underwear, like granny panties with elastic, so uncomfortable, and I could only buy skirts. No shorts, no leggings, no pants, literally skirts down to the ankles. And then later that night, we met up with a group of girls and the like parents of the household at their church and went to their Wednesday night service with them. I was freaking out the entire time, like legs bouncing. I felt like I was on speed. I was so nervous, so anxious. My dad takes me out to the hallway in the church and starts literally getting so mad at me because he thought I was manipulating them into not leaving me because I was acting so anxious. But my family was abandoning me, so of course I'm gonna act anxious. After the service, I go out to the truck with my parents and we start hugging, saying goodbye, freaking out. I'm bawling my eyes out, begging my mom, please just let me stay with a family member. Literally, I'm gonna cry. Literally anybody but this random family out of state, away from home. So my parents drive away, they're gone, and I am taken over to a bus, and I sit down in it with like the 10 to 11 girls and the parents of the group home, and we go back to this house. We all slept in the basement of the house in like twin like bunk beds, whatever. So they picked out some bedding for me, whatever. It was really late at night, so we just went like straight to bed. I still didn't know what was going on. We didn't talk about it or anything. They were just like, okay, lights out, sent me to bed. Next morning I woke up, I was so thirsty, I was so dehydrated from crying so much, I couldn't even blink because my eyes were so dry. So I get out of bed and I go up the stairs to get a drink of water. I already get in so much trouble because I left the room before they came and allowed us to come out of the room just to get a drink of water. We ate breakfast and whatnot. I still remember the first meal I ever ate there was scrambled eggs with salsa. And then I kind of don't really remember what happened from there. I just remember the whole beginning because it was so incredibly traumatic, but I don't remember the next part. I just have all the different stories to tell of how incredibly and painfully terrible it was. Just some little details. The parents of the group home, their names were Jennifer and David Hermance. It feels really weird saying that because we were supposed to call them Miss Jen and Brother David, or we could call them Mommy or Daddy. It's literally all. So I don't remember the conversation or anything like that the next day when I got there, but we did go over a few rules. The biggest rule being silence. So with silence for 60 days, 60 whole days, I was not allowed to speak or make a single sound. Literally 60 days. I couldn't talk to the girls, I couldn't talk to the group leaders, literally nothing. No people at church, nothing. If I were to talk, I would either get time added to my silent sentencing, if you will, or I would get SWATs. SWATs, they would cut out an oak paddle and they would drill holes in the paddle so you could get the airflow through it to make it swing faster. And now, reminder from the last video, it's Brother David and Miss Jen. Miss Jen did not give SWATs. It was only Brother David that gave us SWATs. When it was time to get SWATs, they'd bring you upstairs and they'd tell you to grab your ankles. The first time I ever got SWATs, I told them I can't grab my ankles, and Brother David was like, okay, we'll grab your knees. And then they tell you, I'm now going to administer 2 SWATs for blah, 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 blah. I always thought it was so incredibly weird that it was the man of the household, only Brother David, giving us girls SWATs, telling us to grab our ankles and smacking our asses with a paddle. The girls' home did get shut down so it makes a little bit of sense. For the first 30 days that I was there, I wasn't allowed to wear any makeup. I wasn't allowed to use any hair tools, nothing like that. No activities, no desserts, no drinks, literally nothing like that. The reason for being on silence was so that we could quietly observe the other girls to see how the house goes, what I'm allowed to say, what I'm supposed to say, what we're allowed to talk about. I have to stay silent for 60 days so I can understand what it's okay for me to do. I've never really been the type of person to wear makeup, and I still don't. All I do is curl my eyelashes. So I had my eyelash curler and I literally hid it with my stuff because I really didn't want to get my eyelash curler taken away because it was the only thing that made me feel pretty, having my eyelashes curled. So I had to sneak my eyelash curler and secretly curl my eyelashes. While I was there, I was only allowed to talk to my parents one time every month for 15 minutes, but it was on speaker supervised upstairs in the office with Brother David. So I couldn't tell my parents what was happening. I couldn't talk to them literally about anything. If I were to have said something, they would have just hung up the phone. Now we could have written letters to each other, and we did that, but if they didn't like what we said or they didn't like what our parents told us, they would just mark it out with a Sharpie. So there was no way to tell our parents what was happening to us.
Spread out. Get her in there. All right, now scoot up. There we go. All right, now go ahead and quote.
Philippians 2, 1 through 16. If there be therefore any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God also hath highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven, and things in earth, and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain.
You're going to sing.
Let's talk about solitary. So there was only ever one girl that was in solitary while I was there. I'm not going to say her name, but basically solitary was like the ultimate punishment. Like if you really fucked up, then you went to solitary. So let's talk about how this girl ended up in solitary for starters. So she talked back to somebody. I don't even remember what the conversation was, but the girl, I'm just going to call her, I'll call her F. She had said whatever to something that another girl said, and after she said whatever, then her punishment was going to be swats. Now, F was already 18 years old, so she was legally an adult. She didn't even have to be in that house anyways, but she still had to get swats. I will never forget the horror of this situation. She was refusing the swats. She wouldn't let them hit her. So they were like literally dragging her up and down the stairs. Like there were screams, thuds everywhere, dragging her around, trying to hit her. And she was just running. She didn't want them to hit her. This oak paddle that they would do swats with, it was thick. It was a huge solid oak paddle. And if I remember correctly, they literally broke that thing on her ass trying to hit her. When they broke that paddle, Miss Jen kept a ping pong paddle in her purse. So she went and grabbed her ping pong paddle, and then they were trying to hit her with the ping pong paddle. And that's kind of just honestly the whole situation of what ended up like putting her in solitary. She was refusing the swats, she was having an attitude, whatever. So solitary is this little room upstairs, nothing in it but a couple bunk beds. They were just like extras, but they used it as a solitary room. And while you were in this room, you were on silence. You could not speak, absolutely positively could not speak a single word ever. You were forced to wear all black, like head to toe, only wear black. And that includes like when we went to church, when we went out like in public, literally around the house, everywhere, only all black. You couldn't come out of the room. You slept in the room. You stayed in the room all day, solitary confinement. As far as eating in there goes, all of us girls, like at our meal times throughout the day, we would all eat our food first. And what Miss Jen would do is there were a couple times where she'd make like oatmeal before we ate our food. And it was just like normal oatmeal, no seasoning, no like syrup, whatever you put in oatmeal. It was just plain cooked oatmeal. And then she would leave it on the counter. So it would sit on the counter all throughout our like dinner time, whatever time it was. And it would get like solid, jiggly, cold, and like disgusting by the time we were done. And then they would choose one of us girls to go deliver the food to her. So we would take the food up to F, who was in solitary, and we would give her her food. Oatmeal is just an example. One of the other foods that I can think of was canned artichoke hearts. Literally just a can of artichoke hearts. We would just open the can, bring it upstairs, there was your dinner. That was literally all. There were times where she wouldn't eat it, and I don't blame her because that's just so disgusting. Why would you want to eat that? I don't remember what else we fed her, but it was like literally just enough to get her by. What's super duper sad about this is that I think all of us girls were just so like hungry for attention and like approval by Brother David and Miss Jen that we would bully F, we'd make fun of her. We were like begging to be the one to take her the food, to rub it in her face that we weren't in solitary. Like we'd be happy whenever they chose us to take her the food. And oh my God, it is so incredibly terrible. And I literally, after she got out of solitary, because she didn't even want to be there in the first place, like in the girls' home, 18 years old, maybe a little bit older, Brother David and Miss Jen, they were like, okay, whatever, you don't want to be here, here's a bus ticket. They got her a Greyhound bus ticket, and they sent her away, and she had like a super duper hard life. She didn't have any family, she literally had nobody, but she was still so desperate to get out of that house that she just got on the bus. And then after we all left the home, I know a few of us were able to get back in contact with F. She was really going through it, and I don't think a lot of us saw it at the time, but eventually she's not with us anymore. And I feel so incredibly terrible because, like I said, all of us were just like craving attention and acceptance from Brother David and Miss Jen, that we gave into this, I don't even know what kind of manipulation you would call this, but like making fun of her and like putting her on the outside of the group just because it's what Brother David and Miss Jen liked and what they wanted. And I wish I could take all of that back, but that's a whole different thing, not really related to the girls' home, but it's related to the trauma of the girls' home, and it has taken a life. So that's your little solitary story and what happened to the person that was in it and in the girls' home with us.
Y'all, this is so traumatizing to be told that you can't talk for the first 60 days so that you can watch how they do things around the house. That is insane. Also, like them putting her in uniform, like wearing a skirt all the way to your ankles and everything like that. I would not personally be able to do this. I would be bucking, you guys, like a bull, y'all. I would be going off. I would not make any of their lives comfortable. Dave and Jen would have met their fucking match because I'm not the one. And y'all, I was never a bad kid. I was honestly a really sweet kid. I did have a mouth on me, but you know, I feel like that's a part of growing up. Like a lot of times these cults take away the light in kids' eyes. They take away everything that makes them a kid and makes them unique. And you have to be a kid before you can be an adult. You have to make mistakes and you have to grow. That's the only way that you're going to learn. And them just being so tight-knit and telling them they can't do certain things, it's just insane. It really does set you back. And I'm pretty sure it set her back a lot of years. And that little 15-minute call to your home just once a month is insane. Be unacceptable to me as a parent. No, first off, I wouldn't do this, but if I were to do this and just send her to this group home or whatever, I would want to speak to her daily or weekly, you know, but once a month for only 15 minutes is crazy. And him being in the room, y'all, me as her, I would have popped off on that phone. That first 15-minute call, they would have known they made a mistake. Because I would tell them, hey, look, y'all got me up. Like, y'all need to get me out of here. This guy's a perv. He's touching me. Like, I'm going to scream that. And I don't care. Like, he can hang up that phone as fast as he can. I don't care. Like, they're going to hear the concern in my voice. I only need 2 seconds to put the message out there. And my parents need to come get me. You feel me? Like, this is insane. One 15-minute phone call a month. Can y'all imagine? Does anybody in here have kids? Like, I couldn't even go a day without talking to my kid, honestly. Like, she'll go over to her friend's house and I'm over here. Is everything okay? Are you good? Like, you know, like this is a part of me. She is a part of something that I helped create, right? I can't. I don't play about my creation. This whole thing is crazy, okay? But what's so crazy is that these girls went to church regularly. And the church people didn't peep that something was off. Like hearing them recite this verse and knowing what mentally they're going through when they get home, it just makes me so sad. It's heart-wrenching. You're just listening to them in synchrony, telling everybody a Bible verse, but little do they know, like, these kids are literally possibly getting touched on, getting put in solitude, all of that. It's really sad. And it's crazy how certain people can get away with this. Like, how did he get away with it that long? And
I was in a cult when I was 15, and this is how it went, part 7. We got 10-minute showers. That included getting into the bathroom, taking your clothes off, showering, getting dressed, and then coming out of the bathroom. Like I mentioned in my previous video, we typically didn't shower at the house. We went to a community gym, so they didn't have to pay a water bill. And when we came out of the bathroom, we weren't allowed to have towels on our heads because Brother David said that if we had towels on our heads, it would make men imagine us naked in the shower. This included walking outside with wet hair in freezing weather, and my hair would literally freeze to where it was stiff. Occasionally, we would actually work out at the gym, and when we were working out, if we were able to talk to the other girls, Miss Jen said that we weren't working hard enough. So say we were like jogging on the treadmill and we started talking to another girl, she'd make us turn up the like speed on the treadmill. Just gotta add, Miss Jen was built like Gru. Literally built like Gru. We weren't allowed to get up from the dinner table until we had finished our food. And at the time I hated Cheetos so much, but that was my only option for chips, for like our lunch or whatever. And I left like a few Cheetos on my plate and threw it away. One of the girls told on me and I had to get my plate out of the trash can and I had to finish my Cheetos. Every morning when we got up, Miss Jen would hand out little white pills. They said it was allergy medication, and it very well could have been, but I just literally don't trust them. Every single girl got one though, and I didn't have allergies, so I don't know why I would have had to take one. This one's not like abusive because other people have the same rules, but we were only allowed to wear skirts. They had to be like below mid-calf to ankles, and they couldn't have slits in them because Brother David said that slits are for sluts. It didn't matter what shirt we were wearing, we had to wear an undershirt. So even if we were wearing a t-shirt, we had to wear another shirt under the t-shirt. And that's even whenever we were like out doing yard work in the hot Colorado weather. We took the skirt thing so serious. Whenever I got there 2 weeks before Christmas, we ended up going on a ski trip with their church, and Miss Jen literally got the material of snow pants and she sewed us all snow skirts that we had to wear over our snow pants while we were skiing and snowboarding. So we technically slept in the basement on like bunk beds. At one point we had a camera in there. I literally remember falling asleep every single night to the blinking red dot. I think they eventually took it out though, because I'm pretty sure that's kind of illegal to have cameras in somebody's bedroom. After lights out, if you got up to go to the bathroom, you got swats. We couldn't get out of bed in the morning until they came downstairs and told us to wake up. Bus wreck edition. So while I was there, I mentioned in one of my previous videos, we would travel around the US and go to different churches and like sing for them, yada yada yada, to make money for Brother David and Miss Jen. And one day we were heading back to Colorado and we were going through New Mexico, and it was like really snowy weather and everything. All of us girls were just like doing our thing, like drawing and whatever. And we were just going down the street, and all of a sudden Miss Jen, she's the one driving, she's like, David. Brother David wakes up because he was like laying down in the seats, and then he starts yelling, girls. And next thing you know, we started spinning on the black ice, and then the bus that we used to like drive in, ride in, whatever, literally rolled into a ditch. It's just a regular bus, so we didn't have seatbelts or anything. So all of us girls went from sitting on our seats to landing on our heads because we flipped upside down. There was diesel fluid literally running down like the bottom of the bus, like in between our seats. We were all like stuck under things, laying on top of each other and everything. And our luggage on our trips, they literally stacked and like piled everything up against the emergency exit. So there was no way to get out of this bus. I don't remember how long we were in there because it's all just like a blur now, but I know that like a bunch of pedestrians stopped and they were able to help get us out of the bus. And once we finally got out, we like ran out into the field. It was snowy. It was so cold. Thankfully, one of the guys that stopped, he had like a big like toy hauler, and he let all of us like get inside of his trailer so we didn't freeze to death. I literally remember Brother David screaming that thing's gonna blow because it was catching fire and it was literally about to explode, and it did. Nobody died or anything. Everybody was okay. Just a little bit beat up, bruised, some minor injuries. Brother David and Miss Jen concluded that the reason we all got into this bus wreck was that God was chastising us for our bad behavior. And our bad behavior was before we like went to like travel back to Colorado. There was this girl, she was an adult. She was over 18, I believe. I don't remember how old she was, but she snuck out and like ran away from the girls' home, and all of us supported her and like helped her sneak out and get away. And when we were at the hospital, like they had to cut our clothes off of us because like a lot of us like couldn't move comfortably and everything. So they cut one of the girls' like bras off of her, and they found a piece of paper in her bra that had a phone number on it. And they figured out that the girl that had ran away from the girls' home had given this girl her phone number. So they found out that we were involved in it, thus them thinking that God was chastising us for our sin. Thankfully, I remember we were allowed to call our parents, and whenever like I was able to talk with my parents, they were freaking out. They were like, don't worry, we're on our way. So by time everything passed and we like got back to Colorado, my parents were literally there waiting for me the night that we got back. They picked me up and took me home. So I guess I just needed to nearly die in a bus wreck for my parents to finally get me out of that girl's home, but it worked out. Everything was okay, and I finally got to go home. I'm gonna include a little clip of what Brother David had to say about the bus wreck, though. He talked in front of the whole church, and he said some really embarrassing things and kind of just like terrible things. So here it comes.
When it's going on, and I look up and see my wife hanging from the bus. I was pretty hanging by a seatbelt, amen. Well, she's all right. I didn't have anything broken. I start going through bodies and make sure everybody's all right. There should have been 10 crosses on the side of the road, no doubt. But he's also a God of judgment, and his character requires that, and requires he's going to judge sin. And I fully believe that the girls have experienced some of that. It says a good indication that you're saved, because he's going to chastise his own. He's not going to tolerate his children playing around with sin. I'm not going to do it. Girls, you sing. And test them, talking to them. It helps how you do things.
Hello.
Next.
Hello. Hello.
All right, amen. Sing, amen.
I found some tea last night. So back in 2021, Brother David had texted me. I didn't remember, and I deleted the messages from my phone, but I was going through my iPad last night. I found some. I'm about to green screen the text messages, but I just wanted to preface by saying, first of all, he's talking smack about the girls in these messages, and I think he reached out to me just because, like, I'm not going to say her name. Me and another girl in the girls' home were, like, Brother David's absolute favorites. The other girl actually still lives with Brother David and Miss Jen. Don't ask me why, I have no clue. But let's read the messages. I'm reading these off of my iPad because the little reply to box thing is, like, in my way and I can't record without it. But anyways, so he starts by saying, heaven will reveal everything one day. I pray every one of you that went through the home will be there. That was our main goal. Did you hear that Felicity was hit by a train on March 1st? She was walking on the tracks in the middle of the day and the train ran her over. I talked about this in one of my previous videos, by the way. Had to be an unalive. She left behind a 3-month-old son. Such a tragic life. This one's a little bit wild. Julia will be the next one that God takes. Stay tuned. Oh my God. Then he says, I also think of all of you girls quite often. I have many regrets, and if I could do some things over, I would. I never had the chance to end things the right way with many of them. I wonder how their lives are, and I pray often for all of you. We tried our best to make it a home, and just not another girls' academy. I never agreed with that model. Then he says, my heart breaks at times when I hear the reports on some of them. They have a sad existence despite what they portray on their Facebook page. Kind of odd things for him to say, and also he's creeping on our Facebook pages. And here are some misogynistic things that Brother David would say and do to all of us girls. Brother David would call us heifers, which I'm pretty sure is like a female cow, and he would do it in public, especially at church. We would be like walking in a straight line to go out to the bus after the service, and he'd be like, go on, heifers, and he'd literally fucking moo at us. He'd call us heifers and moo at us, and everybody, like, he'd look around laughing to see if anybody else was laughing. Nobody else was fucking laughing because it wasn't fucking funny. He required us to wear makeup to church. We could only wear skirts, like, down to the ankles, but they couldn't have any slits in them because Brother David said that slits are for sluts, and then also we had to wear, like, pantyhose underneath because, like, they didn't want people to see our curves or our butt jiggle or anything like that. We had to walk a certain way, like, we couldn't take like wide steps, if you will. We had to take like little tiny petite steps because if we were walking with our feet too far apart, then Brother David said that we were walking like men. He said women weren't allowed to talk in church or make any sort of noises or anything. So typically like the men in the church, if they agreed with something the pastor was saying, they'd be like amen or whatever, yell really loud. But he bought all of us handkerchiefs, so if we agreed with something, we would literally just like wave our handkerchiefs in the air.
To a cult when I was 15, and here's some of the fucked up things that happened while I was there. One of the girls got in trouble for having a seizure. I got swats for buying mouthwash and baby wipes with my money. When I would wear like a light peachy pink kind of color, Brother David would not stop talking about how much it complemented my skin tone. Brother David would make nasty like insinuations about what him and Miss Jen were going to do alone that night, if you know what I mean. They thought that my good oral hygiene was obsessive, so they took away my toothbrush and I had to brush my teeth with a Q-tip, and I couldn't floss. They would drop us off in the middle of random neighborhoods at night in below freezing weather so we could go make money for them. The youngest girl there was 7, and she was only allowed to brush her teeth 1 time a day. I'm not even joking. And then she would get in trouble because her breath stank. Brother David would always tase our hips, you know, like the little, like, you know what I mean. Miss Jen made us rub lotion on her feet. We got into a literal fiery bus wreck, rolled into a ditch, and Brother David said it was God chastising us for our bad behavior.
Y'all, the SWATs thing, I don't even have to say it. How disgusting, y'all. Telling them to bend over and touch their ankles so that he can give them swats, like, and she said that there was an SA charge on him, so who knows what he was doing with the other girls, okay? And that just, it just makes me crawl, okay? Now, when they put homegirl in solitaire, I felt so bad just listening to the fact that they were making her look crazy. They were making her wear black. They were singling her out. And you know what's crazy is the things that the normal kids were doing and that they were following was insane. But it was kind of like motivation for those kids to continue to do at whatever they told them. They were so thirsty for their attention that they literally made fun of this girl. And now she's deceased. And what's worse is David didn't really care about her dying. He was just like, yeah, she's a devil's kid. Like, that's what happens to him if you don't listen to God. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so sad. And no, that's not what happens to you when you don't follow these strict, crazy rules. It's what happens to you when the world has their way with you. When people don't treat you like a child in the beginning. When you grow up in a family that doesn't care for you and ships you off to a cult. That's what happens to you. And a lot of kids grow up like this and they die because no one cared for them. And I feel like when you come into this world, you should be cared for. You should be loved. Y'all, every time this creator says Brother David, it makes my skin crawl. David and Jen were so cheap. They would not let them take showers unless it was at the gym. And if they did take showers, it was only 10-minute showers. That right there is insane. Like, taking away her toothbrush and making her brush with a Q-tip is insane to me. You should want somebody who is hygienically well. Like, you don't want someone who's not, you know. Breath really starts to stink really quick. And the fact that she had to brush her teeth with a freaking Q-tip makes me crawl, because I brush my teeth every day. I feel crazy if I don't brush my teeth. Y'all. Why would that make them so mad though? Like, I'm not understanding it. You have someone with good hygiene, especially good dental hygiene, and you're mad about it. That's crazy. And don't get me started. Actually, I'm already started on David literally blaming those girls for the bus crash. That's insane. Honestly, I think that bus crashed to protect them girls. And I know it sounds crazy because, you know, like that's just huge. But I think it brought attention to the household. Once they had to go to the hospital and they started calling parents, and that raised a concern. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that was God. I'm glad that they didn't make it to their destination. I really am. I'm glad that they got to talk to someone outside of that crazy household. David and Jen seem like the underdogs. They seem like underdogs that actually came into power. They overtook it and it consumed them. They got obsessed with it. I'm just glad that she's out of the cold. I feel bad that there are still people there living with them. Who knows what's going on? I wish she would have given more details. I would have definitely went to the cops. I understand that they probably might not do anything just due to proof or whatever not, but I still would have made the cops aware so that they can watch these people, because this is not right at all. And like I said before, y'all, kids are only as bad as your parenting is. You have to be a good parent out here. Now, when your kid grows up, they're making their own decisions and things like that, it's up to them. But that's not just like right after they turn 18. Like, you still need to parent your kids. You still need to love your kids and guide your kids, because that's what parents are. We are guides. For me, I like to teach my daughter how to work smarter and not harder. So I'll tell her things and runarounds and turnarounds of things that can help her make her life easier. To know that she's not going to be struggling out here. She's going to look for an easier alternative. When I was younger, my mom did the same thing to me, and it bounced off of me. It bounced off my sister. She learned the same thing. We always approach a hard situation with, like, what can we do to make this situation easier? Y'all, it's as simple as that. It's just what we're passing on to our kids. We don't want them to struggle in the real world just because we struggled with certain things, or say, oh, my family beat me, so I'm gonna beat my kid. No. We need to be the change. But all right, y'all, that is the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post. And guess what, y'all? I will see y'all later.